Hi, everybody. So, Sonny, you've got a new title now. You're not you were formerly the you're the CIO at Interior, right?
Correct, that's right.
And you have a new title now that is so long that I couldn't remember the number of words involved. But it involves innovative technology, which is, I think, why I'm here and interested to hear what you have to say, and also citizen services.
That's right.
So what's the full title now?
The full title is Deputy Associate Administrator, Office of Citizen Services and Innovative Technologies. So instead of like DABERS, it's DA-OCIT.
All right. So what's that about? What does that actually mean?
Yeah, what we're doing here is we do government-wide programs that make an impact in terms of in an agile way to go out and implement programs that are more e-government or open government and allow us to really change from the previous approaches of long acquisitions and approaches and multi-year projects to smaller projects that can go and implement things that have a sort of a horizontal impact across government. In the areas of cloud, we're helping do the data center consolidation analysis. We're doing basically the data.gov. We're also looking at a new collaborative project called FedSpace, a security for the cloud called FedRAMP, and things called Forge, software code repository for the government. So these are kind of things that we're interested in, and a lot of other projects already underway, as you may be well interested in.
That sounds, that sounds right up my alley. So I'm here. What's going on with the cloud? What's happening on that? It's been about a year. It's been a while since the Cloud Computing Initiative. So what's happening?
There's actually a lot of stuff that's happening. First is, as you know, my immediate boss, Dr. Dave McClure, recently testified in Congress and was talking about some of the cloud direction and so on and so forth. The first thing we're doing is working for the federal CIO and coming up with a cloud strategy for government. So that should be published sometime this year. And second, we are going to be awarding an infrastructure as a service contract that'll be coming out soon from GSA, which is looking at how cloud services can be made available across government. We just put out an email RFI for request for information for email as software as a service, and that is going out. That is gone out, and we're getting comments, and then so we're looking at making that available. We are obviously looking at platform as a service in terms of geospatial, for example, moving that to the cloud. And so we're working with a couple of agencies to make that happen. We've already put several programs in the cloud, so to speak, in terms of recovery.gov, data.gov, USA.gov, and other programs are looking to cloud first in terms of for unclassified data. And so I think the main thing is to get these offerings out and also look at ancillary services like Forge or FedRAMP. And the other thing is FedRAMP, security for the cloud. We have made a lot of progress in terms of working with NIST, who's come out with some of the standards for the cloud. And we're now working with the Chief Information Security Officers through the Federal CIO Council to come up with a first time ever a publication that'll be done very soon, accompanied by a policy from the OMB, which will allow us to look at more ways to use the cloud within certain security parameters of high, moderate, low. And in fact, I think at one of the conferences I just recently spoke, there are about 250 controls already ready for the cloud that is being sort of approved.
Wow.
And so there's going to be one policy, one document, one process, and one way, and FedRAMP is that risk managed approach that we're looking at. So we are pushing the frontiers for government. That's lightning speed. It is also a new way to do business, and that's why I'm in GSA. There's some good energy, but really it's the energy of the federal agencies also working to try this out. And, people are generally risk averse, and we're just trying to kind of test these waters. So we will be moving cautiously, but smartly forward.
It's really interesting on the sort of outside of government space. There's sort of now, I think you could call them almost second generation cloud services, like one's called Heroku, another one's called Jangi. I think there's one that's actually coming out for Drupal sometime soon that make it so that deployment on the web is, more application-centric and less systems administration-centric. I think those technologies also will have a long-term impact, could have a really big impact on how the government deploys applications. they're cheap, and they make it so that people like me who are developers can actually write code and put it out, and they don't have to jump through a bunch of hurdles and hoops in order to get them out. And if they can get security certified, like you say, it sounds like the FedRAMP and stuff like that are ways to lay the foundation for those very interesting second generation services. So I want to talk a little bit about the citizen services as part of your title, as well as innovative technology, right? So what does that mean? What's we can like be really excited about the cloud and that kind of thing, but this always comes back to the citizen, right?
It's all about the citizen. In fact, the President's agenda in terms of openness and the OpenGov agenda and collaboration, participation, and innovation is all about citizen-centric focus as well. So on the one hand, we're looking at working with federal agencies as stakeholders, but the other thing is actually citizens themselves. So there are two deputy associate administrators working with Dave. I'm one of the executives, and the other one's Martha Doris. Mm-hmm. She's obviously very famous as well, and she is working a lot of the citizen services in terms of USA Gov. For example, recently on USA Gov, we put something like 22 mobile applications that are government developed and ready with open APIs as well, so that people can now develop it and extend this forward. We intend to, another one is challenge.gov, which is just about to come out. So all of these things are coming out in terms of allowing the citizen to engage more and participate more. And the challenge.gov, for example, which I think Bev Godwin is here, and she's also going to be speaking about that, is going to allow all agencies with one approach. They can develop their own challenges and work within the guidelines, but get challenges out and prizes out so that we can have competition. So that all citizen-focused also is another thing. So USA Gov, mobile apps, USA Gov itself has been redesigned, the Challenge Gov, and there are many other things that we're doing with the federal contact centers and so on and so forth in Martha's area, which is all focused on using social media and more citizen experiences to enhance it and make it more accountability. We have our Spanish-speaking website, which is rated #1, and we, in fact, on our OpenGov as well, we were recently chosen in the top 8 in terms of ranking. But more than that, one of our approaches was chosen as a key approach in terms of the groundbreaking change that we have instituted at GSA. So I think sustainability is another thing that we're focused on. So more interaction with the public, more services, more transparency. That is the focus using some of the web-based technologies.
Let me ask you this. This is something that's been scaring the heck out of me lately.
Okay.
About, in particular, challenges and contests.
Yep.
Especially the concept of using contests as a procurement model, which is happening by the administration, I think is a good thing. But what scares me about it is, in the challenges that I've seen thus far, and the contests and the hackathons, I don't see a lot of new blood at the table. Like, it seems to me like this is a new method of getting old ideas inside of government. And the one thing that I think we did right at the Sunlight Foundation was our target was not procurement, it was community. It was the building of community. And that meant going after the sort of, I guess I would call indie developer, right? The Jim Gilliams of the world who got involved in Sunlight Labs and has now started a little company called Actly, which allows people to sort of petition their members of Congress via Twitter. And it's those people, I think, that over the long term are going to provide a tremendous amount of value to the people that the people that don't work in this space, the ordinary citizen developer. How can government, while on one hand really look at the contest model as a way to make procurement more efficient, but at the same time make it so that these indie developers have sort of a seat at the table and can and are engaged, because I think I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think that everyone thinks they're important too.
Oh, no, that's a great point. That's a tough question, by the way. So that is a very good question in terms of, in the government, we've set up all the federal acquisition regulations to ensure equity in process. So because of that, government usually tends to be very cautious in how we approach it. So for example, even on data.gov, we followed what Sunlight Foundation is doing,
Right.
but we couldn't just go to one foundation because then the other foundation will say, hey, wait a second, what about us? So we're trying to do more data evangelism by having an open, so we did our first government, we didn't call it hackathon. We wanted to make sure
Right.
that, we didn't have
You can't have any hacking.
we didn't want any dog cars coming straight outside our building, but we called it a Mashathon.
Mm-hmm.
So it was called the Mashathon 1. And we allowed, government folks to work that, and we're going to take this further and open it up to the entire world in looking at how we can do more Mashathons.
This is sort of the thing that sort of, with Forge.gov, for instance, right?
Yes.
Or Forge.mil, this stuff. Maybe I'll just go on record. I'm not a fan of Forge.gov.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm not a fan of Forge.gov is because it's the same reason why I wouldn't want government to make its own social network for people to relate with the
Right.
government. If the government wants to relate with people,
Yeah.
across social networks, then go on Facebook. That already exists, right? And GitHub and SourceForge and these communities already exist. Is there a strategy or a way that you guys can be participating in those communities as well as,
I think it's a little bit of both, but perhaps we can disagree a little bit on the fact that we think the Forge.mil model has been very successful in DoD because a lot of government is a little bit more structured in how we deal with things, but they've made some tremendous progress and they've shared government to government with us in terms of this model. So we're very intrigued by that. And we're trying to work with all the government agencies to come up with this concept whereby you can have a software registry and a repository. And the value added in the business process and also the security for the code itself and the ability to deploy things faster because the code would be registered subroutines. I'm an electrical engineer myself by training. And in all our years of training and all that, we learned a lot of things. But now the technology is so good that you can have these tools to have change management and other things to make this available in a secure fashion for some agencies, but also in an open fashion to promulgate more awareness and invite more developers to come in. We're also interested in code because we want to make sure the security is checked because people can always leave little presents in the code itself, which can phone home and send a lot of stuff. So we're interested in security as well. So I would say to you that this whole concept of involving not only with the developer community, but also getting Mashathons and more involvement with the developers worldwide, but also having a software code registry. Because newsflash, there's a lot of duplication in government within agencies and across agencies. So that's what we're trying to avoid. But if there's some other ideas, we'd be happy to do an idea scale or some interaction with you and others who can give us some ideas. We're more open and listening open to ideas as well.
Great. Well, I think our time is up, so I could sit up here all day and chat with you. And I'm sorry I didn't get to ask you the who would win in a foot race, Vivek Kundra or Anish Chopra question, but we'll have to save that for our next interview.
I think they're both good. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.